everyone, and welcome back to the Unrestricted podcast. I'm MattyStuntz, and I'm joined here today with Joshua Bardwell.
Yes, you are, and you're very lucky, too.
Yes, very lucky. And also Kevin Dougherty, a.k.a. StingersSwarm.
What up, guys?
And we also have Peter
Sripol.
with Once you were with Flight Test, right?
Yeah, I'm on my own now doing all sorts of dumb things.
And then what are you doing now on your own?
I built my own electric death trap and almost killed myself in it. I flew
Nice! I really want to do that too.
I want to talk about that today.
Okay,
and we also have a very special guest. We hold him very dear to our heart. From RCExplorer, David
Windestål.
Hey,
how's it going?
Okay, so what's going on? What's going on this week? Is there's something big happening in this city that Chad lives in, isn't there?
Yes, it's Flight Fest currently.
Flight Fest.
Yeah. So
Nice.
What was it? 5,000 people?
Yeah, it was an insane amount of people just showing up doing everything.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, everybody was good, and even Drew showed up.
Yeah,
but he went away now.
So how far away is Flight Fest from Chad's house?
45 minutes.
Oh, so it's very close.
Yeah, it's close.
And what else we got on the horizon here? So there's a death trap apparently, Peter, that you almost killed yourself in?
but yeah, that's
Okay.
what. Go
I want
ahead.
to talk
Did
about
it
this
fly? That's all I need to know.
It did fly. I got 8 feet off the ground with it. It was really tail heavy. It started wandering like this, and the landing gear was so shitty. It was really janky.
Okay, so this is a fixed
It's
wing.
a fixed wing, yeah. I'll do a multi-rotor later. I'm gonna take a lazy boy or sofa and fly in the sofa.
I think a multi-rotor has more chance of success than a fixed wing.
I think
a fixed wing,
No.
you need weight and balance, but a multi-rotor,
You can
all you
glide
need is a
that
gyro,
thing.
and you're
You can
good.
glide that.
You're
It's
good.
not powered death trap, like powered lifting death trap. It can glide.
You have more success on decapitating yourself with a multi-rotor.
That is very true.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
way more terrified of a multi-rotor. There's so many parts that can fail. So many solder joints, so many ESCs, so many motors.
It doesn't move though. It once you solder it,
Exactly.
Yeah, you just got the bearings of the
exactly.
motors.
I would
This
be
is the
way
thing.
more comfortable building an airplane for myself.
You're an
Personally.
airplane pilot, though. You're a professional. You know.
Well, but the thing is that
an
an
airplane has to
if
go
any
at
of-
least
if
60,
any of those-
70 miles an hour before it even starts to think about flying.
But-
Multi-rotor, you just
Wrong.
go
No,
straight
like
up.
about
My
30,
airplane
more like
flies
30.
at freaking 15. It'll take off.
What?
15,
Yeah.
20 starts going to rotate, and then a little
It all
more
depends
25.
on the wing loading
Yeah.
and how you build it. But yeah, no, I would way prefer to build an airplane than a multi-rotor.
Guys, listen to this. Honestly, if I had the materials here right now, I would jump into one. I've been actually talking to my buddy Aaron about building a full-size one for us to jump into, and just it really appeals to me. I don't think there's that much risk in it.
I'll fly it
Really,
over water.
you can eliminate it a lot. Yeah, you can fly over water. You can fly over a very cushy landing. But I truly want to build a full-size rig up here in Canada.
Will you fly it with 60 degrees up tilt?
I will I'll fly it like this.
You just recline it. If it's a sofa, so you just recline the thing.
And then just as soon as I lift off, I have to pitch it forward to have my head.
Exactly,
come down
exactly,
forward. Yeah.
exactly. The pilot's the windshield has to be like, you can't look straight forward. You have to pitch forward.
What else? So David,
Yeah.
tell me what's going on, man? How long you been growing this beard out for?
6 months maybe.
That's 6 months of beard growing, eh?
I actually cut down quite a bit as well. So
Well,
I'm
to
very-
shape it, right?
Yeah, I'm very manly. With testosterone and things.
Kevin, what beard is this at? How many months is
That's
this at?
actually right about the same. The last time I shaved was right before I quit the airline job, so sometime in January. I'd have to look to get an exact date. So right about 6 months.
You look like you're going to cast for Wolverine right now. In the
Yeah, you really do.
I really
Show
need
us
a
the Wolverine
haircut
hair.
badly.
Show us the Wolverine
Go with
hair.
this.
Do
Go
it.
with this.
great.
Do
Go with
it.
this.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. That's not quite wolf. That was more.
I don't even. I
Crazy
don't know what it
prospector.
is, but yeah, I think it's mostly homeless.
Oh,
don't
okay.
know.
Yeah.
That seems insensitive, but I feel like I get that kind of look a lot. I need a haircut as part of it.
I'm kind of. We should have actually discussed this before the show. What's the friggin' topic for today? I kind of heard that these two gentlemen were in Chad's house tonight, and we kind of were like, oh, let's get them on the podcast and chat about stuff. But what are we talking about today, boys?
Matty, how far back do you know about the multirotor world? I want to hear.
Believe it or not, I used to fly wings when Trappy would send them down the mountains when it was like Zephyr 2s were really cool. So I've kind of been around. I never really got into the multi-rotor side until I saw Just 70 start flying like the 250 size ones. I would watch him fly like the 400s, but I had a friend that was in Vancouver that had a 400, and they would break very easy, and I just didn't see that the technology wasn't there yet. As soon as the 250s came and I saw how durable they were, that's kind of when I got into multi-rotors, which was about 3 years ago. But far back, I remember seeing you send a plane up into space and fly a tricopter at Niagara Falls.
All right. Yeah. So you were in it pretty early, huh?
Yeah. In the hobby space, but I wasn't really a drone pilot. I don't know. Like, do you guys consider wings being drone pilot?
Are you FPVing?
Yeah, what are you FPV? Yeah,
I consider FPV.
Yeah.
So you were asking me how long I've been back, or how long have I been in the space for? What was the question behind that one?
No, mainly because I don't know you as much as other people do.
This is our first time talking.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, how long have you two been in the I should say, because I think there's two categories. There's the flying RC planes and cars, and then there was everything after that, which is like FPV and wings, FPV, multi-rotors.
You go.
Yeah, okay, fine, I'll go first. Basically, my first multi-rotor was like hilarious. Like I got like these old gyros that you had to like put together, and you had to get like a VTEL mixer and make your own quad. It flew like a whole total of 30 seconds and then exploded. And then I bought a little Gowie flight controller, like the 344. Put that out there.
Now, how long ago was that, Peter?
45 minutes.
That was probably like 10 years ago. Because I was like 20. I graduated high school in 2010, so that means that's almost 10 years ago.
Wow.
Holy shit.
It goes fast.
Oh my God, Peter, you graduated high school in 2010?
Yeah.
I was a kid.
Oh, wow, I feel old. God. I got out of high school in 99. Okay, I just want to say, like, the first times that I noticed both Peter and David. David, when I was first getting into RC, which was flight test, and at the time you were still, I think, living somewhere. I don't know if you were living with Capper or Bixler. I forget exactly. But you were living up there and on a lot of the flight test. And my favorite thing that you did from that era was the afterburner EDF.
Oh, yeah.
The lighter fluid and the
stun gun.
Was it lighter butane and oh my God, the stun gun. What is it?
Stun gun.
The stun gun for the ignition. When I saw that, I was like, okay, RC is badass. I don't give a shit what anybody says. RC is badass. I gotta do this. And like, I feel like both you and Peter have done so many things that I'm like, yeah, if anybody wants to know like what's cool with RC, like FPV Javelin missile. Holy shit. That was not the first time I saw something from Peter, but like, oh my God, that one stands out so much for me. So, and anyways, I just wanted to point those two things out and say I love you guys.
I want to know what happened with Rocket Knife. David, will you tell us? Well, for anyone who doesn't know what Rocket Knife is, will you tell them what Rocket Knife is and what is happening or did happen with Rocket Knife?
So it's a rocket with a knife on it, and it's on a track.
What more do you need? First of all,
just link in the description. Go watch that.
Okay, so yeah, I made a track, and it's 12 meters long, and it's a rocket on a sled, and it has a knife at the top, and it cuts things. So it goes really, really fast. That's it. Really, like cut different things. But at the end, I made a twist and I put a little bit different things on it, like a Lego Superstar Destroyer, and right into a wall. It's awesome. So that's it. Really.
Yeah, I saw that channel and I thought, there were all these channels that started maybe with the hydraulic press channel, all these channels with shredding and melting and blowing up various things. And I really hoped that Rocket Knife channel would blow up and you would just make zillions of dollars cutting things with a rocket knife.
I know. Me too.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Are you still doing it?
No.
Or did you retire Rocket Knife?
I did retire it 2 weeks ago. I cut the track. Finally.
Oh man.
Well, so yeah, it hurts. But yeah.
Whatever happened to the slow-mo channel too, man?
Time. I don't know. I shot that. All the episodes were shot when Christian was there for a couple of weeks. But man, starting a new channel, that's a lot of work.
Do you think you have a short attention span? Do you just get into something, do a crazy amount, and then move on to the next thing?
Squirrel. Yellow bit. Yeah, actually, I mean, it's fun to try new stuff. And, I don't know, we just tried it out, how it feels, and, I don't know, Rocket Knife was awesome, because you get to destroy stuff instead of building it.
I have to, I'm actually going to look at this right now, because it sounds very intriguing, and I have never seen this Rocket Knife.
Oh. So David, Rocket Knife is like sort of an awesome thing that I can think of that you did. And Peter, I remember when you made the Shield Helicarrier with Flight Test, which is probably, I think, one of the most awesome builds I've ever seen. Oh my
God!
Do you want to talk about for anyone who? I mean, everyone
fun.
can just go Google it now. But like, how big were the props and motors on that thing? How big was the Shield Helicarrier that you built?
Those are probably small by today's standards, but it was running the Ep011 motors. They were like turning like 18-inch carbon props, but kind of small now. But I mean, it would lift quite a bit. I want to do it. How
big was the helicarrier, like from end to end?
Oh, the deck was like 2 feet wide, and it was 8 feet long.
Wow.
So if you can land anything on that, for the most part, like if you crash into it, you could land on it.
And you did. I remember you took it off and hover. Well, hover may be a generous word. It flew though,
It had a
and then
KK2
people would take off and land on it, or crash into it, as the case may be.
I'm just thinking of all of the epic planes that Peter has built. Like basically every epic RC plane that I have interacted with a mini quad was one of Peter's concoctions. Whether it was hitting the gate on the hoop plane or hitting the gate on the box plane that you flew in combat, I managed to go between the wings, and before I could loop back and hit you, you were down.
Yes,
and then
we were watching the 360 cam footage, and someone flew their mini quad into the props on the right side, and I lost the right engine, and it just like slowly went down and crashed.
Oh.
And then what is the name of the plane that I managed to land in the cargo bay on?
Oh, the big guinea pig, the capybara or whatever. That was the most fun I've ever had. Flight Fest. We got to do that again sometime.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Get the cargo plane back up there and get you guys all in it.
You know what? I want to do something that I've wanted to do for a long time is a bunch of your hoop planes and make a rainbow and then have a race that's Roy G. Biv, like the rainbow. Like you have to hit the gates in order of the rainbow. And then like the first person to do 2 circuits wins or something. I don't know. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds easy.
What's the biggest project you worked on where it was like the craziest shit show project you worked on to build an aircraft? What would you say it is?
Go to YouTube and type DIY electric airplane. I got into an airplane that I made. It has 2 of the Hobby King Rotomax 150C electrics on it, and I flew that thing all around. I got up like 200 feet above the ground, just flying all around this homemade foam death trap.
Oh my God! Could you die? Like?
Oh yeah, I mean, your fleshy body impacting the earth at terminal velocity would probably kill you.
Oh, okay, so then at 200 feet terminal velocity might not be there
Yeah,
yet, but
that's fast.
still you're going fast enough and incurring enough G-force to cause death. Now, did you baby step this thing up to altitude, or what's the issue?
I did like 3 runs arounds. The first time I did it, I kind of ended up leaving the runway and trying to fly around. But the problem is I was using a 12S pack, and the motors and propeller combination was really for a 14S system. So I ended up like crashing out in the cornfield that I just got freshly mowed, and it was bumpy. It was fine, but eventually I got the 14S setup in it, and I just firewalled it and flew away.
So now, are you flying it as like a yoke and rudder?
Yeah,
with
there's a stick in it and rudders, and you just fly like an airplane.
And do you have piloting experience?
I do have my private pilot's license, so I do have that. Even though that thing flies nothing like a Cessna.
See, like
I can't decide.
This thing that I want to do with the sorry, Joshua, 1 second. This thing I want to do with the full-sized multi-rotor craft, I'm just gonna sit there with my controller and like a helmet and just like zoom it around. And
same thing. I'm planning to do the same thing as well.
I can't decide where we are because kit build planes are a thing and they're relatively safe. They're designed by professional engineers. But Peter, I know that you're famous for just slapping a bunch of foam and hot glue together and throwing it in the air. And when you're talking about, I haven't seen this video, but you're talking about you built a plane and you flew it around, but you're also a professional pilot. I really can't decide where we are in this spectrum between like a real home-built plane and were you just literally up there flying around in foam and hot glue, in which
5
case
out of 10.
I'm horrified
It's a half and half.
for your mother.
I mean, I like underneath the battery seats, there's a whole bunch of tattoo lipos. And we just kind of duct taped the tattoo lipos together, slapped them under the seat, and I sat on top of them and flew around.
Yep.
You know what?
Yep.
I would trust the duct tape. I would trust the duct tape.
It was fine as long as I didn't do a loop.
Yeah. Well, we're not. Let's not get crazy here, Peter.
Yeah, please not to do loops.
David, what's your craziest build / FPV adventure? You'd say?
Probably. I don't know. What do you think, Kevin?
Okay, hang
Do you
on.
remember anything?
A pick of mine, I personally think the sending something into space and bringing it down successfully is a pretty big feat. It's not outer space, but it's still like you're up there. Yeah,
Highest RC thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
No one else has
I'm
done
sorry,
that.
just flying around butane and a stun gun just to make planes in the sky. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous.
I do like that one. That was a good build.
I think the most audacious thing David has done is keep tricopters relevant in today's RC world.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, let's talk about
since
that.
You've always loved tricopters ever since then. Ever since when, right? What's so great about tricopters?
The swooshiness. Because you have you go and it, like when you use yaw, it kind of feels like a plane. It does this swoosh. It's really difficult to explain if you haven't flown it. What do you think, Peter? It's like it.
Yeah, it's because I had like this green tricopter, made it kind of like an avatar thing, and it's just the way the tail rotor moves around. It just seems to naturally kind of do a little sort of coordination with like turning almost on its own. It was kind of weird.
It's a swoosh. It's a swoosh.
It's the swoosh. It's the swoosh.
I actually had someone send me one of your not your personal mini tricopter, a build though. He had built it and he said I cannot get it. The tail tune, I just cannot get it tuned. It doesn't fly right. And I did the same thing, and I couldn't get it to fly right. And I was like, damn, I wanted it so bad. I wanted the swoosh. I wanted to feel the magic. We couldn't get it.
Yeah, there's 4 extra parameters.
Yeah.
I've only felt the swoosh one time, and that was flying David's tricopter at Chernobyl at the site of
The Ferris wheel. Yeah.
Oh my god, it was so cool. And the problem was, I forget what it was. I think I had like a high voltage pack, which it was setting off the low voltage alarm for the next cell up. And so you turned off all of the warnings for the voltage.
It works
and
great.
we were like, oh, it'll be fine.
And it's a
like, so
1300.
I'm flying. We're at Chernobyl. It's basically explained to you that, hey, these are the safe places to walk. These are the places you don't really want to go. But he's got some... I mean, I've flown... When I first got into RC, I was flying on 2.4 gigahertz and 5.8 video and going, 2.5 miles out. So, flying a swooshy, as David likes to say, tricopter around Chernobyl and getting, like, epic like scenery things before I'd ever owned a Mavic or had any kind of DJI experience. I was like, this is so cool. And like I was flying it over areas that if I had crashed, it was just going to be like, I'm sorry, David, it's gone.
Yeah. That's kind of my fault, though, since I turned off the safety stuff.
So, but no. So I brought it back, but literally as I brought it back to the clearing that we were in, which was easy to spot because it's the Ferris wheel. We know where we are, right? I come back to the Ferris wheel, and as I get there, I'm full throttle coming across the trees and skidding to a stop at our feet. And I'm like, that's all she had.
I thought it was great. You did a good job. I'm like, wow, you turned out
it was
good.
awesome.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I lost all the footage from the whole area. It was, yeah.
I'm so jealous of you guys getting to go do that. So jealous.
Dude,
so good.
That was such an amazing trip. I want to go back.
Yeah, for sure. Our tour guide was amazing. He's like, oh, can we go there? He's like, yeah, you can, but if you want to die.
Like, it's not gonna, you don't want to hang out over there, but if you just like walk over, you're not going to die.
Not yet. That's radiation for later.
That was a really fun trip.
Oh, it was for sure. Man. Yeah, once in a lifetime for sure. So Bardwell, when did you get into it?
When did I get into the hobby?
Yeah.
I've been flying for about 3 years, maybe. I'm not sure exactly. I started with when a friend of mine brought his Phantom over to my house. And I was like, you can't build one of those yourself. No, hobbyists don't build those. That's way too complicated. And then I looked into it and was like, oh, you can build them. And then the next thing I did was I built a Bixler and flew fixed wing for about 6 months before I got into multirotors.
Oh.
But it was flight test. Flight test was a big part of it. Flight test was just watching you guys having a good time on flight test, and my first quad was an Electro Hub, and
very nice.
Now here I am. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Chad design that got you in then. Uh-huh.
That Electro Hub was Chad's? Yeah,
it was his layout, and I did the PCB board thing when we had the power distribution.
I feel like there was a real sea change in multirotors, because flight test's sort of contribution was to use these poplar booms that would break, but they were the half-inch poplar booms or whatever, and you just get more and replace them, and you could keep flying. And then the Blackout mini quad came out, and we had carbon fiber mini quads, and suddenly it was like nothing would break. You could just crash it all day and nothing would break, and it was like, wow, I guess we don't need these poplar booms anymore.
Yeah, it was just the props that broke. Yeah. Everything else was fine.
Yeah,
nothing breaks.
Every crash, I remember though, flying that thing around. Every crash, like boom, now you're replacing a poplar boom, and you thought you were so lucky that that's all you had to replace. And now you just smash into a cement wall at 80 miles an hour, just pick it up and put it back in the air.
You're like, son of a bitch, the prop's bent. I have to bend it back.
Yeah. Can you imagine turtle mode? Can you imagine turtle mode existing 3 years ago? Can you imagine just flipping the quad over after a crash and flying away?
No.
Oh
magic.
my God.
Hey, so tell me, who else is in the house right now? Are they all sitting around? Or are they all there?
On the other side, we have Chad.
Do we have? Let's get them in this. Let's get them in the
they
view
want
here.
you in frame. Get over your chair.
It's a party right now.
Talk to Jeff. I want to know when Jeff got into things, because me and Jeff became good buddies.
I still have swimmer hair, and I can't hear
There he is.
We have a chat. Jeff is actually on the earphone here.
Hey,
What's going on, Jeff?
Hey guys, Drew's here too.
Who else? We got Drew and then another fella.
Sam,
Yeah,
is that you?
Sam is passed out.
He's probably
He had a
sleeping
migraine.
somewhere.
Okay.
Took half a bottle of that. He had.
We don't want Drew.
That probably makes sense.
Drew, you've been on here enough.
Yeah.
No, he hasn't
We're
been on
just gonna
here
skip Drew.
Drew, what hair color we got rocking right now?
Ah!
We got blue and roots.
And some purple in there. He's
Yeah, a little
two-tone
bit
right now.
purple.
Hey,
You guys are out of frame
and
now.
Drew, today is obviously this podcast is going to go out, but today is your last day for your contest, isn't it? I saw
Yeah,
that.
Drew's actually reviewing videos right now.
Yeah, he's upset.
Oh.
He has 781 to go through.
Wow. Yeah,
Oh, my
780 something.
goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I had like
That's
I
so
had like
intense.
once 1 second where I thought, oh, that's a good idea, freestyle contest. And then Drew told me how many entries he had to watch, and I was like, it's a bad idea. No one should do that.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Jeff.
Yeah.
How did you
I
get
got into the
that?
hobby by some guy at work just brought in a little rinky-dink, like 7-Eleven mall helicopter. And I kind of always wanted to do RC, but never really could afford it or anything. And I'm like, oh, a little helicopter, that's cool. And I don't know, it just kind of snowballed from there, and it's got bigger and bigger helicopters. So for like 4 years, I was into 3D helicopters. Spent all the money on that, and then someone told me, you gotta look up Blackout on YouTube, and then it was a wrap. After that, I just switched to FPV.
Kevin
Matty.
his set is rocking.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah. Good job on that.
I like the angles.
Thanks, guys.
Blackout was your first frame.
I actually got a Minion. Do you guys remember the Minion?
Yeah.
It's a Canadian guy's design. Because in the beginning, everybody, it was mainly almost all Blackout, so they were hard to get. It was like always
Right.
out of stock. And you guys remember there's like
Mine.
2 motor options, 1 ESC option, one. It used to be so limited. So it was like the hardest part about putting together a mini quad was just waiting for all those things to come back in stock at the 2 or 3 sources you could get them from.
Dude, are you kidding me? All right, that is key right there. People don't realize this. When I got my first serious multi-rotor, right? I first got a a Proto X, stupid little thing. It was fun. Then I got into the flight test videos, played around with that, and then I had a Blade Nano, the first real quad I had. The choices were 3. There were 3 solid frames. There was a Blackout, which was always out of stock. You just pre-ordered. You gave dude money and hope to God that he sent you something eventually. No clue when that was going to happen. There was the MXP
230. I had that. That was my first frame. It was awesome.
That was the X-Hover frame. And Daniel, I love you, but I wasn't a fan of the design. And then the QAV 250 and Lumineers seemed legit. Like I knew when they had stock and when they didn't. And so I was like, okay, they've got almost all the things. It was just motors. I think it was just motors that they were short when I sourced out all the things I wanted for my build. And I placed the order, and I had to wait 3 months because it was Chinese New Year, and it was the 1806 motors, which were the hot thing at the time on the QAV 250 on 3S. Like, oh my God. And I waited 3 months to get a full 5-inch quad because of Chinese New Year. Like, it was obnoxious.
All right. I got an idea. You threw out those 1806 motor hotness. Let's all. We've been doing this a long time. Let's name products that were the total hotness that no one remembers. And I'll start Sunny Sky 2204 or 2203. Was it 2203?
2204. That was my first motor.
It's 2204. Well, remember that was the hotness.
How about the Laser Toys Blue Wonder?
Cobra.
Airplanes, yeah.
420.
Yes.
So hold on, wait. We didn't get
With
to talk
some
about
fuel tubes.
DT750s, man.
So there's
What's
my
David
first
holding
quad.
up?
Oh, that's Chad.
That's my first quad.
Podcast. You have to describe it.
KK2 boards.
Yeah.
Okay, so he has a KK.
No, this isn't a KK2. This is our Arduino with our
Hold it back
Arducopter.
up.
Oh, that was
Hold it
so
back up,
old.
Chad.
Hold
it back up.
I had.
Let me see. So it's basically
those are-
2 sticks or 4 sticks.
PAL bars. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then what do you got
PVC
there?
middle piece there. And it was an Arduino board, a full-size Arduino board, because none of the minis existed then. And it ran an Arducopter, and it sucked.
It was awful.
You made it out of towel.
But it flew.
Yeah, there was
Okay.
no frames that you could buy then.
This was one of my first QAV 250s.
Oh,
This is actually a replacement frame that Schizo gave me because he was sponsored by Lumineer, and he was stoked that anyone in the area flew a QAV 250. Like, we were fist bump bros from the start because of that. And yeah, that was. I think this is one of my first sponsored X-Hover frames.
So my very first
I
frame.
have this wall of death that is coming for over there for my studio.
very first frame was an MXP 230 with the 6-inch arms, and I gave it to my buddy, and he still flies it to this day. Like the thing is just
Wow.
indestructible.
Yeah, it was really hard to kill.
The top plate. The top plate was always the weak point. If you had anything up on top.
What's it called? Epoxied the top plate with some reinforced carbon fiber, and away you go. He's still flying it.
Here, David, do you remember this one?
Nice.
Yeah, the H quad. This was considered small. This was like, wow, this is so small. It's difficult to get fly good.
We were going to make
And
that
for
the
anyone
backpack
that's
pod.
listening to this, it's about as big as his torso.
It's got 8-inch props like the slow flies like from model airplanes.
Yeah.
It's got the real stuff, the real old days
How about
stuff.
that? How about that wire isolating camera plate? Then the brilliant idea of putting the battery and the camera. Yeah,
Did you
that's
see
right,
that?
David.
Yeah.
Using
yeah.
the battery as damping mass for the camera, so the vibrations from the massive 8-inch props
Yeah.
didn't get near GoPro.
That was a
That was
problem.
David. That was your idea, right?
Yeah, it worked good. And then, I'm just saying, Rode video mics copied my design.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, it was. I bent some wire.
Cloners.
Yeah, hosers. Anyway, so yeah, it's bent wire like a U shape, and you have two of those in the front and two of those in the back on a plate. So the battery hangs underneath, so very little vibration gets through the wire, and it needs to move the whole battery, which was like a 4S3000 or 3S3000 something. And you had the camera on that too. So yeah, because vibration was the thing, because there was no multi-rotor props. It was like GBS, GWS.
Yeah, GBS like
slow
80s,
fry-
60s.
Yeah.
They were,
Man,
it was like such
And
crap
you
to
used-
pick through.
Use prop savers with rubber
Yeah,
bands.
the O-rings. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It was awful.
And this, I flew it with gyros from the start. 4 gyros. 4 helicopter gyros. Those are 50 hertz. There's no pit loop of 8K. That was 50 hertz. Yeah.
This makes me think, because we when we got into the hobby, we were flying 8-inch, 9-inch, 10-inch props. We had all these problems with vibration because the props are so big, they're out of balance, they have a lot of energy. And then we went to 5 inches that became kind of big and solved a lot of those vibration problems because the props are spinning faster and they have less mass. But now we see freestyle and long-range pilots going up 6-inch, 7-inch. Are we just kind of going back where we started?
No.
Are we going to reintroduce those same problems?
I'm going to let you know something. I've been doing a lot more mid-range and long-range flying, and I can get my 5-inch freestyle quad to fly like 12 minutes, which is all I really need. It's a 12K flight pretty much. So 6K out, 6K back.
Nice.
And for long range for myself, all my mountain peaks are only like 2 to 3K away. So I have plenty in the gas tank to get back. So honestly, I think that you're going to, this is my theory on it. Having something that's extremely light, like as light as you can possibly get it, and having a lower KV motor with some efficient tri-blade 5-inch props, and then putting on a fuckload of milliamp hours onto the bottom of this thing. So I was flying at like 4,500 milliamp hours to achieve that flight, and you still get the flight characteristics are still just the same as if you were going to fly like 6S 5-inch, because I was using also a 5S setup. So I think that's where it goes, because I have this huge prototype Rebel rig here that takes 8-inch props, but you can't tune the friggin' thing. So it's like
That's what I want to know. I want to hear more about that, because I think they're.
I do want to hear David and Peter. Are you guys into the long ranging?
Yes.
I'm really interested in it, actually. I do want to make some setups that can go way out there and just pick something up and come back. Like maybe like combining like a tank chassis with the multi-rotor, a larger one with claws on it, so I can run out there and pick up like things that have flipped over and whatever, or steal someone else's multi-rotor with my multi-rotor. So things like that. Basically getting them off the top of buildings.
Thinking that this thing would go.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't even picked the motor setup yet, and combinations and all that. I may not fly acro with it, but who knows?
Oh, that would
David?
be awesome. Yeah, I fly long range almost all the time. I use 1.3 gigahertz video transmitter in Sweden, and I've flown a little further than you should. Maybe 10K out, 10K back. It's not as fun though when you fly that far because you can't go low. It just gets blocked by stuff. But it's still pretty fun. It's a little rush because if you crash, you will not get it back.
Yeah, there's always that rush factor. Even when I'm flying these peaks in Vancouver, BC, because we have some pretty crazy mountain ranges out here in Canada, and when I'm flying them, you're only like 2.5K out, but just being at the top of a mountain and like looking down a chute and realizing that you're never getting your stuff back, it really gets the adrenaline going like crazy.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine like these guys are flying their stuff out like 30K and back and stuff. Like it must be boring, but at the same time, it's like if you get one little flicker in your video, you're like, is this it? Do I have to turn around? Like, you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure I see the appeal of it, but I've never done it. I'm sure if I did it, it would be thrilling. But like the guys doing long distance shots, you fly out in a straight line, you fly back. If you do it in a plane, number one, you're going somewhere, and number two, you could die. But I don't know. I mean, you
See, Joshua, this is how it was for me too. Rebel's been trying to get me to run their long range 1600 kV motors for the longest time, and I'm like, don't send them. And now it's like, I need more, please, because I need to build like an infinite amount of mid range, long range setups. And for me, it was just the first couple times I flew down a mountain. I don't know, like, you guys don't have mountains, obviously, where you live, right?
No.
I mean, we have the Appalachian Mountains where I live.
I mean, there's a lot of corn here in Ohio.
Someone call them mountains.
Yeah, go fly those, or just come up here, Joshua, and stay at my house, and we'll go fly some mountains in the wintertime. And then you'll see.
I guess I see your point. I see your point. If you're flying a mountain with a multirotor or a wing is not the same as doing like a 30K out and back shot. Yeah. That's a little bit of a different thing.
That's different for me. I would never want to do like see how far I can go, you know. But
yeah, I guess it's an engineering challenge.
I want to put one in a tornado. That'd be cool. Selling a rig into a tornado, try to get it back.
Listen,
there you go.
No joke, Peter.
Yeah.
I was literally just talking about this with my buddy Aaron because we saw it was a stormy day and the cloud started to funnel. And we don't live in a tornado area, but it just looked cool. And I'm like, we should go fly tornadoes.
Yeah,
and fly
tornadoes. So cool.
And get it back.
I'm trying to convince Alex Vanover to get a government grant to do that because I knew some guys that did drove the cars into it, and he wants to study meteorology. I'm telling you, he needs to get a grant to go fly RC planes into
who wants to be the first to dive
I don't want
you could dive the funnel with a tornado.
I don't want a grant. I just literally want to go and find a tornado to see how cool it is and film it with my quad.
Yeah. How about you, Jeff?
I don't really do long range because also like Peter, I'm in the Midwest, so it's just flat. If I had mountains or something cool to go to, I'd probably do it. But all the spots that I fly on a regular basis, I can get to the whole thing on regular 2.4.
So having David and Peter here, and my current RC conundrum, I have a question for you guys. So I find myself in the market for a surface radio because I've got a couple of cars that have incompatible receivers and transmitters, etc. And I just want the end-all be-all programmable, not too expensive surface radio. What should I be looking at?
Tyrannus.
Probably. I was looking at them too.
Yeah, I drive my car with that. It works great.
Really?
Yeah, it does. It's not the same as a wheel, though, but...
Don't they make wheel option, though? I was looking at that.
Do they?
Yeah, they had like a bunch of bottom memory in that thing, too.
Cool.
I don't really keep up with the surface, pistol grip style. I just use my airplane radio, too, because I just don't care. I'm so lazy. I'm like, okay, just gonna throw this bad boy in there. It's got all the switches on there. I can put a rocket launcher on that, and a gasoline flamethrower. It works.
Oh my god!
And your fingers are probably just trained to.
Yeah, it's just the same thing. Sticks.
Yeah, it's fine.
Spectrum is really big in the surface stuff.
They are, and they're equally awful there.
We were actually just at Spectrum.
Yeah,
that's probably why Kevin's looking for a surface radio.
It has a little bit to do with that.
You guys, listen. You guys need to go and watch this new edit I just released today.
I already saw it.
Who just saw it?
That was a nice transition, man. So smooth. Wow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, though. You should have put the juice at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because if someone
What
is
juice?
impatient, dude, halfway through to the end is like the most mind-blowing thing ever. But the
Yeah, it's a
first half
build-up.
is good, but not...
It's a
yeah,
build-up, right?
I get
That's
it.
how I
You
try to
too.
do. That's how
People
I try
are
to do
impatient.
my videos.
Yeah,
but
but people are impatient.
Nobody on
so-
YouTube has patience
Yeah.
for your artistry.
So
if
marketing-wise...
they don't want to wait, wait the 2 minutes
You
to
don't-
get to the good stuff, then they shouldn't be watching.
No,
it. But
but yeah, what...
That's a
definitely, I didn't think that there was any more to add to the stuff that I do, and lo and behold, there's 6 more things that I added. So
Yeah.
it's definitely an edit that is I was working really hard to get out quicker, but I just was working like crazy and I couldn't do everything. This is my tribute. So this is my if no one's watching the video podcast, this is my tribute to Stickman, the very first part here. Probably the most brilliant edit I've ever seen, and I just wanted to kind of pay my respects to it. And then it
Stickman's
builds up.
Brilliant. He's brilliant. Brilliant.
He's a crazy artist up here, and he knows the skills to get what's up here out onto the screen. And I was just messaging with him on the phone, and I missed the guy. He was in Quebec, which is like 5-hour plane ride, but it's Canada, but it's Eastern Canada, just a little while ago. And I wanted him to come out and just work with him on stuff. So, Kevin, why don't you do this? Why don't you fast forward to the...
No, you got to get the build. For those of you who are
I'm
listening to the
not
audio podcast, Kevin is watching the edit right now. And I'm watching Kevin watch.
flying
Yeah,
in.
Hey, we're
on
watching it
Kevin's
too because I want to
Kevin.
see this.
I'll walk you guys through everything that's going to go on. But like once it gets to the build-up part, I'm not going to be able to explain the tricks.
It's getting
fast
there.
enough.
I remember this part.
Yeah.
Not too much after this, it starts getting really gnarly.
This is the part where Matty defies gravity. This is the part where he kicks in 3D mode and then lies about not using 3D. We know.
All the time. That's how it happens. This tree spot's it's just amazing to fly. It's these trees are like 250 feet tall. They're like buildings. So what I just did there was an invert, and I basically just tried to do as many different combinations of the invert as possible, and that's where most of these tricks are coming from. So and I really started playing with inverted yaw spins.
I think
as
this
well.
is the spin through the tree. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was sick.
Inverted yaw spin through it. This is a new one here. So inverted with a flip through a gap. And these tricks are all pretty easy, relatively easy to do. You just have to, your brain has to see them, and you just got to get the timing on the sticks, and that's it. And this is some 240 action with my new Hero 6 that I love.
Jeff, you just put a video out about Matty stuff. Was it like a trick tutorial or
It's
something?
kind of just
Talking
like
about how Matty
general
flies.
backwards flying and like what kind of backwards flying you can do without the crazy toe.
So, Matty, I remember you were, before you met Drew, you were a little bit salty about one of the Drew's trick tutorials where he...
Hold on, I'll stop you right there, Joshua. That right there was a new trick. That was a 270 knife edge. So that's an inverted with a double front flip. It is fucking hard. Or no, wait a minute. That was an invert single. This is the invert with double front flip into a gap. The timing takes a little while to do. And that was an inverted Maddy, or an Maddy flip with a inverted yaw spin, which we call A-bombs.
I like how excited you are to describe the tricks that I'm watching right now.
Joshua, what were you saying about Matty was salty about Drew?
I remember Matty, before he met Drew, was a little bit annoyed at one of Drew's trick tutorials. So since you guys are both here, I'm curious, Matty, what you think of Jeff's dissection of your tricks. If you saw the video at all, or
I didn't see the video. Did he call him a trippy spin though? That's all I really care about.
No.
You care a lot about people calling tricks the same name you do. You
Well,
get really annoyed
here's a
when
good
people
question.
Yeah, I
though,
do.
'cause this was
I did.
confusion in my
I
video.
did.
What is a Matty flip?
I used to, but now it's to the point where I just don't care. People can call them what they want to call them.
And I'll tell
Trippy spin is just, I just don't like the name. So cyclones, they were called cyclones.
What is a Maddy
Because
flip?
what's the definition of a Maddy flip? That's, Jeff, I think what you're asking.
I guess the definition would just be going over an object and then going back through the hole backwards. So like if you're just doing it in, I don't consider it really a Maddy flip if you're doing it in an open space. You have to be going backwards through an actual like gate, if it were. You know what I mean? A lot of these tricks you can do obviously in an open field and they look the exact same, but it's not the same if you're good enough to invert through something, see your hole, and then continue out. It's totally different than if you were just to invert in an open field and revert, right?
Because in my video, I definitely didn't rename any of the tricks. My whole point was I don't know what these are called. Call it what you want, but that thing where you do this.
There's so many of these little tricks that I do that I just you need to write them down, and then but there has to be like a universal understanding that we're going to call. Like I wonder how they did it with skateboarding. Like when did Rodney Mellon start doing 360 flips, and when someone said okay it's called a 360 flip, and then everyone started calling it a 360 flip, like how did they
I think the
do
biggest difference there is they didn't have the internet, so the whole world was like did whatever was printed in the magazine.
And we're here talking because like I've found myself flying with Jeff, I get really inspired to try different backwards things. I think in the last edit I posted, I did the backwards down the hall thing, which I don't know if you posted it, Jeff, or not, but I basically saw you do it, and I was like, oh, that's cool as shit. I understand how that works. I want to do it. You know what I mean? And no offense, it was totally ripped off. But a lot of the stuff, but I've been wanting to do things like falling, like hitting gaps backwards, whether it's like going up and then coming back through it backwards. I did that.
Yeah, I saw you do one of those too.
Trying to figure out how to hit gaps. Like I've done power loops inside of trees. So you got like the bushy part and then a branch and then a gap and then a gap. And so you go under a power loop. And I was like, how do you hit the thing at the top backwards? And so I started messing around with that. And every way to get into it is like, it doesn't matter whether you yaw spin or invert, you essentially are doing a Maddy flip at that point. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. So it went from me trying to just hit a gap backwards weirdly to, oh, that's doing like proximity Maddy flips. I don't have them down well yet, but I have crashed a lot trying them. They're the fun.
The one of those I saw you do is really cool because you like went up and you would think that you're doing a huge power loop because you just kept seeing the sky for a long time, but then you just fall back through the same gap you went up through.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that was over in South Carolina. That was terrifying, by the way. I was like, this is taking I know that I was on a vertical trajectory, but this is taking forever.
David, have you ever seen a tricopter do an inverted yaw spin?
Yes, actually. Not by choice, but yeah.
Can they do it?
Yeah, with yaw boost you can do it. So you have the problem with tricopter is when you don't have any throttle, you don't have any yaw response anymore. But if we have another thing in the special software we run called TriFlight. When you're at zero throttle, and depending on how much angle you have on the tail, it boosts it. It increases the throttle on that back motor, because it won't pitch that much anyway, so you get the yaw authority. So yeah, it's possible.
I wonder if so now, because I'd like to try this so-called tricopter and see if I could do my tricks with it. But so this is pretty much how I'm.
David sent him a tricopter.
I don't think that would work with high tilt at all.
So
no,
this is how I'm running.
That's
so
true.
You see the that's about 60.
Yeah.
If you're not watching at home, I'm holding up my quad with 60 degrees tilt, and I'm just showing what my flight profile is pretty much doing. So if you imagine an inverted yaw spin now, my camera is like this,
that's
and
not
I'm
gonna
doing
work.
this.
Yeah,
so it's more holding action.
I don't know what it would do at all.
So one way to find out.
I'm curious. I'd like to try to.
You want to find out?
I really want to find out.
TriFlight also has the ability to. Doesn't it also have the ability to use motor torque to sort of augment or enhance yaw?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's an
You can
actual
sort of balance that.
there's software purposely made for tricopters.
It's an addition to Betaflight, so it adds all the tricopter stuff on top of that. Because it was trouble with the tricopters is always the tail, and stock Betaflight has no idea what to do with the servo. Like it is really, really bad. So I made a servo with a feedback wire to the flight controller, so it knows where the servo is at all time, so it can much more efficiently give the correct input instead of sending a input that it should go to the completely opposite side, but then it gets a new input that it should move the opposite side. It actually knows where the servo is, so it just moves it that side it needs to, instead of doing all kinds of weird stuff. But yeah, I would love to see it.
Every time people come to me and ask me tuning questions about tricopters, the first thing I say is, I don't know. And then I say, you should just install TriFlight. Don't waste your time with Betaflight on a tricopter. Just TriFlight is the answer.
Yep.
David, do you have videos on how to obviously your guy who's really taking the tricopters by the horns? Do you have videos on how to tune it and all that stuff?
Not as in depth as I want to. There's not a whole lot of people flying them really acro because it's kind of difficult. Like there is limitations to the tricopter because there's a lot of tricks that involve killing the throttle completely or very, very close to it. And when you do it really quickly, the servo is not fast enough. So what can happen is if you go full throttle, no throttle, it will spin. Could be an advantage, but usually not.
Well, no, you just have to learn how to fly that particular copter. It would just be like if I were to do my tricks and not come 100% off the throttle, right? Like we used to do in the old days.
Yeah, the good old days.
The good old days. I remember the good old days when I started learning how to just do like an invert, and it was in the days where I was flying near the bridges, and I would try to have my like cutoff as low as possible to the point where like my finger kind of knew the muscle memory, and if I came like any lower, it would just start like flopping around, and I would have to like catch it, and then idle up switches came out and air.
Idle up switch. When the idle up switch hit, it was like, oh my god, I can go all the way down and not die. It was amazing.
I didn't do it for the longest time.
Still.
Yeah, I didn't do it for the longest time because I felt like back then I kind of felt like if I might have an advantage with a certain trick if I could cut the motors completely almost. And I was trying to like keep it like that so I could see, and then I like finally tried it and I'm like, oh, this is cheating, but everyone else is doing it, so I'll just do it anyways. And then it was like all over from there.
I want to see what Matty what you would make of like a mini tricopter.
It would be amazing to see.
But you would have to send him. You'd literally have to send him like a bind and fly because Matty, I know you're busy and you can barely keep your own copters running. But
well, no, that's not true. Lately, I've been so busy because I've been flying so much more. But I mean, this was like for instance, this is the last one I was flying to get the last trick that I needed to get just for completing this edit. But I kind of ran it into a tree, and I have one wire that's disconnected on the ESC. And I just have to fix my tube here for my antenna. And like that's the extent of my crashing stuff right now. But I have like 3 quads that are flying, so very rare.
So if you got a mini tricopter, would you just explode it in the first 5 minutes and then that would be the end of it?
No. I don't
10 minutes.
Like to what popular belief is, I don't really crash that much actually. It's more crashing it's not even that. It's more just if something goes wrong with my quad, like if cameras go out or ESCs explode or stuff like that. Like I'll hit ghost branches and stuff like that, but usually I can keep it in the air pretty good. If I'm like trying something super gnarly and I know the line in my head, obviously I might crash a couple times, but I'm not exploding my shit that much. I don't really fly concrete stuff though that often either. So
yeah. Tricopters are not as durable as quads,
No.
as mini quads, because the
So
servo
what
is a real weak point.
Okay, so there's a servo that's tilting this tail.
Yeah. Wow, you haven't. Have you seen a picture of a tricopter?
I thought it was just. I guess you would.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
need.
even know.
I always wanted to try the flight test. I don't know how it was branded. It was like the indestructible tricopter
Oh, the tough tilt?
servo
Yeah.
design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, though, too, because when I'm flying like this, and my rear motors are always a little bit hotter. So how is it going to take me flying it like this? I guess I just have to basically fly it.
It'd be
To
great for
its
me to know.
limits.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Bro.
At that degree of up tilt, the transition of, because you translate yaw into roll and roll into yaw as you go into higher and higher up tilt, which means that normally your yaw axis is your your weak axis on a tricopter, but actually at 60 or 70 degrees of up tilt, it would be your roll axis, which would be
Wow.
sort of controlled by the servo. That's
Oh.
insane.
Yeah. What the heck?
Yeah,
This is
so
gonna be
imagine.
interesting.
Just imagine if your yaw is backwards with your roll, and that's kind of how I fly. So when I do like a yaw spin, if it's inverted or regular or yaw whip or whatever, I'm pretty much like rolling and then like just leaning my yaw, like leaning a little bit on the yaw, and like that's it.
Wow. This is not going to end well. Oh, it's going to be
I want to
awesome.
see the.
I
wanna see it.
really want
The
to see
only
it.
thing we need a rocket to be involved, though.
There has to be some. David, have you ever been to Canada to fly?
No, actually not. I have not been to Canada.
Well,
Actually,
let's exchange information here at the end of this, and let's get you up here, man. I'll get you a place to stay, and
Oh, thanks, man.
honestly, anyone that's on this podcast obviously has the same access to come fly Canada. It's
Offers
whenever
does
people
not
come.
extend to Rotor Riot pilots who are involved in the bridge dive.
Well, the thing is, all the stuff we just went to a bridge. We just went to a bridge. Every other spot was fine. You know? So what's this you're holding?
Matty.
up, Kevin?
Matty, how much is that quad weigh you've been
It's
holding
my
up?
dirty quad. I don't know.
This one?
What's that quad weigh, Matty? Look at that one. What's that one weigh?
I don't know.
Is it under 250 grams?
Oh no, the 250-gram one. I just keep it. I keep it in my bag for whenever I need to pull it out and start flying it.
I got you.
This is actually this is pretty damn close to 250. Believe it or not,
What?
Yeah.
GoPro on it?
And a battery?
Yeah.
because it's just like I'm talking about the skeleton, but
I can't resist. I can't resist.
Transport Canada has to prove it. Okay, so it's just like when I used to wheelie in the old days.
Yeah, I don't understand how Matty goes and posts the bridge footage like months later and no big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And as before that, too.
You can't come up here into Canada. You can't come up here in Canada and start flying our bridges, eh?
Yeah.
If one of ours does it,
You know
if one of
what's
ours
funny?
does it, that's okay.
Joshua does the accent better than I do,
That
guys.
is a
Yeah,
pretty
it's
good
great.
Canadian accent.
That was a very good one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Even if they did, I think it's more, for me, it's more the long range stuff because we can't go outside of LOS. But I mean, how do they know what part of the mountain I'm on, right? They have to have someone there at that time to know where I am, and they have to prove it, right? It's just like
Yeah.
anything. They have to prove where you are, they have to prove what you're using and all that stuff. So I'm not promoting dangerous flying, but I don't think flying in my backcountry in the mountains where I have to take a gun because I could get eaten by a bear or a cougar, I don't think I'm going to have a problem with safety issues.
What? There's women over 40 in the woods?
Cougars. Oh.
Sorry, that was a bad one.
So hey, I know it's getting late for you guys. I know you guys had a pool party apparently,
yeah.
but
Nice.
let's end this bad boy. I think it's a pleasure having you guys on. Thank you, Peter,
Yeah, it's fun.
David, and Jeff Warda as well. You guys Thanks for the time. David, definitely give me your information if you ever want to come to Canada. And do some long ranging out in the outback, Great Canadian Outback.
That'd be
Anything
sweet.
else you guys want to go through? Kevin, when's the next quad camp?
We do not currently have a next quad camp, but we have a big announcement that you can expect pretty soon. I don't know, when does this come out? Maybe by the time this is out.
Yeah, I don't know the scheduling right now. It might be a couple weeks or a week. I don't know. But what about you, Joshua? Anything on the horizon?
Well, I'll be releasing another video tomorrow. I just did a big round of FPV receiver testing. That's going to be coming out. Battery testing website's coming out soon.
Let me ask you something. Did anything? How's this Tyrannus 900 megahertz?
Oh, the FreeSky R9.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. I haven't tested it yet. I actually just got an X-Lite and an R9 module that I'm going to start testing it. But I can already tell you what the answer is because I have a crystal ball. The R9, if what you want is a 900 megahertz system that'll give you really good range, more than 2.4 gig, and basically all you care about is just plug it into the receiver and go and fly on your stupid quad. The FreeSky R9 is mature enough; it will get the job done, and it'll be way cheaper than Crossfire. But Crossfire is a much more robust, mature, full-featured system that has a lot more to offer than just a control link. Like it can do things like smart audio direct from the receiver, so you can have smart audio on your plane. It can do things like Mavlink telemetry. It can do things like Bluetooth pass-through from the mate. It has all this other stuff that's so much more than just a link. So
I'm worried more about the link. Will the link rival a Crossfire?
Well, only a long-range pilot can test that and tell you that. And I don't know if I'm even going to be able to answer that. There's so many variables there when you're doing long range. It's so hard to get a controlled experiment. But the bottom line is when you're cranking 1 watt, you have to really screw things up to not be able to get a lot of range. So my gut feeling is that they are probably pretty close in performance, but I have no data for that. If you're not a really long range pilot though, then
I need 10K.
Both fine.
Like I need 10K rock solid to be safe.
Are you flying the FrSky 900 megahertz, whatever it is,
the R9
1 watt, the R9 on 1 watt?
I am not flying it at all yet. I just got the stuff in the mail and haven't set it up yet. But if you're going to do the long range stuff, I think it goes up to 1 watt, doesn't it?
Does it have an oh crap switch where it's low power normally and then you can boost it?
I think it's dynamic. It's between, I think, 100 milliwatts and 1 watt, and it dynamically ramps it. And this is something, by the way, and again,
makes me nervous.
I'm just digging into it. I'm just digging into it. So I hear these little whispers in the wind, and I pick things up. So don't take this as canon. But so, for example, Crossfire has the ability to lock the output power and turn off dynamic power, because sometimes people get into a situation where they'll fail safe for a second, and then the power comes up, and you don't want that, especially if you're flying a multi-rotor. Yeah. Does FreeSky have that? I think I have heard people say, "Oh, how do you turn the dynamic power off on FreeSky?" And other people say, "I don't know. I haven't dug into it." But that's the kind of thing that like Team Black Sheep is thinking about and going, "Here's what we need." There's another thing people are having, which is racing pilots flying Crossfire. It turns out if you get like 5 or 6 Crossfire pilots in the same place at the same time, they stomp on each other and they knock each other out of the air.
Yeah, even one person, like we notice when we're flying in the mountains, when I'm watching with my Tango, because we'll usually watch just like spotting and just making sure that we have 2 eyes on the FPV feed. If I take out my receiver or plug it back in, even one person can affect the other person that's flying if they're far out there.
Yeah.
And this is also with a micro as well.
TBS is working on a fix for this. TBS went, oh shit, and they're working on kind of like a Crossfire race mode where you're at very, very low power, but you can have more pilots in the air. They're very fast, they're very responsive, and this is the point that I'm trying to make is if you're not really at the edge of the performance envelope, then you probably could fly either of them and do okay. But especially if you're pushing the edge, or if you really want the extra feature set of the responsiveness, I feel like there's still. But then again, I got Crossfire's like $40-$45 a receiver, and FreeSky's like $10 a receiver. So there's certainly an economic argument that a lot of people are going to go, FreeSky.
Yeah,
dude,
they got to bring down their prices.
It's like, but it's one of the most crucial things that you put in your quad is control link. And honestly, for all it's worth, I don't get any TBS products for free. I think that's pretty clear. So I'm buying my Crossfire receivers. I don't know that it's worth. If there's anything degraded, I don't want it. I like having to lock my output. I know what I can get on 100 milliwatt. I know what I'm going to get on 500 milliwatt, which is basically anything that I can do with a mini quad, I can do on 500 milliwatt on Crossfire. And I like the telemetry features of it. I feel like I always am confident in knowing what the radio quality, what the quad is seeing in the environment, and what my transmitter is seeing. So, God, I don't want to set this to sound like an ad, but I like Crossfire. So,
yeah, I personally wouldn't fly anything else right now as well, but I would like to see something else come on the market just so.
I want a competitor so badly too.
Yeah, because then when you have a competitor, you're going to make the system even better, and you're going to give price points that, like, I think that the $40 price point is crazy, but I would still pay it now. You know what I mean? And I do pay for my stuff now too. So it's I still think it's worth it. I just like to see someone else coming in the market and testing some stuff.
Well, here's the bottom line: is I like seeing people that I trust with products and testing them out and hearing their opinion. And so I'm really excited to hear that Josh has the R9.
Me too.
Is that what it is? The R9?
The R9, yeah. It's the R9.
Okay, I'm really glad that you've got it, and I'm excited to hear your input on it, because if it is awesome, that's really great because it's teeny tiny. I'm kind of looking forward to that Nirvana radio.
Yes.
I don't know.
From Underground FPV, right?
Yeah. It looks cool to me. It looks a little bit customizable. And I don't know, the radios are so picky. It's like sunglasses for me. I would not buy a pair of sunglasses without like being able to try it on. I wouldn't fly a radio without like fondling it for at least, I don't know, a good bit, And I don't know, it's just me. And so I'm excited to get to try that one out. I got to play with the IX-12 when we were up at Spectrum, and that thing felt amazing and was really cool and a lot more powerful than I expected it to be. But it was also, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. It was a little bit clunky, and I felt like limited in terms of things that I like in FR Sky, or not FR Sky, but OpenTX, whatever. Oh my
cool.
God.
Okay, let's wrap this up because I know it's like 2 o'clock.
I know.
You started the wrap up and then you threw another question.
Yeah.
I know. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Ciao.
Boom.